Start the meeting.
Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, April 15th at 7:30 p.m. Mr. Brennan, Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon. Please rise for a moment of silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. President, if we would, I'd ask us that in our moment of meditation, that we remember those in our community who are less fortunate than we are in any and every way, and remember those who have lost loved ones since the last time we were in these chambers. And just another point of meditation and thought around just to remember our young people and the youth, and not just the young youth, but the young adults who have lost their lives and are just seem to be extremely out of control in our community. Let us begin to think positive thoughts towards finding resolution for that. Also, we ask our God and Creator to give us the best wisdom and the best information to make the best decisions for the citizens of the city of Erie.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, April 1st, and bills for payment on April 17th, 24th, and May 1st, 2015. Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan.
Okay, thank you. Are there any requests for repository sales today? Are there any requests for repository sales today? Hearing none, we will go to citizens to be heard, and there are several people who have signed up to speak, and in order we'll have Randy Barnes first on the list.
Thank you, Council President, Council, guests, administration. My name is Randy Barnes, 109 Walton Point. My subject is what is $81,732 in free coffee. You know, it's amazing that less than about 4 months ago, we were all pleased in December when we had a balanced budget. And now we're here about 3.5 months later looking at something that I'm not sure what this is. $16 million, $30 million, $4 million. I don't know. That's like, I think that adds up to $50 million. But so we really didn't have a balanced budget. We were just kind of fooling the public and fooling ourselves when we thought we did. But what I want to talk about tonight is this $12,000 we're paying this. And anybody that's my age or older is an old white guy. So we're paying an old white guy $12,000 a year. We decided that last year that we had $12,000, and we decided we'd have $12,000 a year for 2 years. But yet we're facing the public and say, well, we don't have money to pave the roads. You know, one of the council people said he thought that was a luxury a year ago and voted against it. Well, it sure sounds like a luxury when we have to go out and borrow money to pave roads, but yet we have the money to pay an old white retired guy $12,000 a year for the next 2 years. Who were the 4 council people that voted for that? Because I think it's important we remember their names. Because what I found about in politicians is usually they come back to you sometime in the future and say, you know, vote for me, I want to do this, do that, and do all these things for you. But what these 4 people did a year ago was voted $12,000 to pay a retiree that's already collecting a $68,000 pension. And who were those 4 people? Let me read from the official record. Melvin Witherspoon, Curtis Jones, James Winarski, Jesse Rankunso. These 4 council people said a year ago that we got $12,000 to pay a retired person for the next year, and we got $12,000 to pay him for another year. But yet we don't have any additional money to pay for a Jobs for Youth program, realizing you do hire youth every year. But what the communities ask is for a little bit more, help out with the county. But we don't have that because these 4 council people, Melvin Witherspoon, James Winarski, Curtis Jones, Jesse Rankunso, said, you know what? What's more important than paving roads is to pay a retired white guy $68,000 pension, but give him a little kicker of $12,000 a year for the next 2 years, $1,000 a month. These youth that are here before us, they would like to have a chance at a little bit of money, little bit of extra to earn it. Actually earn it. They haven't received a pension yet. They haven't been able to work. But they're coming to you saying, is there any extra money? Well, a year ago, there was a lot of extra money. There was $12,000 a year extra for 2 years. According to council people Melvin Witherspoon, Curtis Jones, James Winarski, and Jessica Ann Kunko said, there's extra money for this man. And what did we hire that man to do? Part-time? Well, in the news report said, council member says his experience in the position and history of the city will serve as an aid while the new clerk transitions. The new clerk transition. Now, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a 2-year transition? Well, apparently, because we're paying this man $1,000 a month for the next 2 years. 2-year transition, he's here helping the new clerk transition. Rose, I think you've transitioned. I apologize for saying that. As an outsider, looking at the agenda, knowing the work that you and your staff do, I think you've transitioned very well. And I think it's an insult to Rose, the current clerk. The council sits there and continues this fallacy, this farce, that we need to pay someone $1,000 a month so Rose can transition. And who were those 4 council people? Those 4 council people from the record again. Melvin Witherspoon, Curtis Jones, James Winarski, Jessica Ann Kunko. Some point in time, these 4 council people are going to come to you and ask for a vote. Say, we need your vote. I need your vote, because I'm going to work for you. Well, as long as you're an old retired white guy collecting a $68,000 pension, they probably will work for you. No doubt about it, because they proved that a year ago in July from the official record, because 4 of them said, we want an old retired white guy earning a $68,000 pension, we got to give him a $1,000 a month kicker. And for those that don't remember who those 4 council people were, let me read from the record again. Melvin Witherspoon, Curtis Jones, James Winarski, Jessica Ann Kunko. Less than a year ago said, we have extra money. We need to hire this old retired white guy and give him $1,000 a month to help the new clerk transition. Thank you. Good luck on your debt.
Next on the says to be heard to sign up was Mr. Joe Curlett. Is Mr. Joe Curlett here today? Is Mr. Joe Curlett here today? He's not here, so we'll go to the next person on the list. Eric Arndt. Eric Arndt, are you here?
City Council members, I came to you in January of 2015 to speak about the dangers of adding fluoride to our water supply. Fluorine is the most reactive of all elements. It reacts quite readily with calcium to produce a naturally occurring calcium fluoride. The fluorides used by society are man-made chemicals. One such chemical is fluorosilicic acid, which is the hazardous waste byproduct from the manufacture of phosphate fertilizers. This form also happens to be the type we and everyone else use for water fluoridation. Another is sodium fluoride, found in toothpaste and mouthwash. You find at the dentist's office for fluoride cleanings and such. It's also a hazardous waste from aluminum manufacturing or created by combining fluorosilicic acid with caustic soda. Interestingly, before 1945, I think it is, when fluoridation began, sodium fluoride was used as rat poison and insecticide. Fluoridation is not in our best interest. Here's a chance to erase then-Mayor Rick Filippi's veto of the City Council's Safe Drinking Water Act. The citizens of this community made clear what they believed and wanted, and the council listened. Unfortunately, one misguided individual held the power to fulfill his own personal agenda. The official stance on fluoride by the FDA is that fluoride, when used in the diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease in man or animal, is a drug that is subject to Food and Drug Administration regulation, but it has never been subjected to the randomized clinical trials as required by any other drug. Adding it to the water to treat a disease is mass medication. No government has the right to do that. It removes my right to informed consent and is a violation of human rights. Ask your doctor if they know of any drug that can be given in any dose to everyone indiscriminately. The official classification of the fluorosilicic acid we put in our water is hazardous waste. If you call Lakeview Landfill, they will give you the number for Emily, who will tell you that the fluorosilicic acid in our water is hazardous waste and must be treated and disposed of by licensed professionals. The supplier of our fluorosilicic acid is a company named Solvay Fluorides, LLC. If you Google this company, you will find Solvay Chemicals. There you will find a well-put-together website, but good luck finding any useful information about the fluorosilicic acid we buy from them. The product safety summary on fluorosilicic acid from Solvay that I had to dig around the internet to find tells you 10 other names used for fluorosilicic acid, some uses of fluorosilicic acid, and some of its possible harmful effects. It will tell you in bold type that none of these effects will happen to you with the low levels that we use in water fluoridation. What tests or research are they referencing for such a bold claim to its safety? None, because there are none. But wait, it gets worse. It will also tell you that they don't even produce fluorosilicic acid, but instead they obtain it through commercial agreements with fertilizer producers. One can only wonder why that information isn't so readily obtainable from their website. If you're lucky enough to find the American Water Works Association standard on fluorosilicic acid, you will read that fluorosilicic acid is a co-product, not the hazardous waste byproduct of phosphate fertilizer production. What a pretty picture they paint. On page 8, they list the possible impurities that producers of fluorosilicic acid are encouraged to maintain a database on. I have yet to find any database showing to what degree any of these impurities are found. Short samples of some of these impurities are arsenic, lead, mercury, radium-226, and uranium, which, by the way, are radioactive. Phosphate fertilizer companies used to dump their waste in the air and the water. Then the EPA forced them to capture this waste with wet scrubbers or be fined. Neutralizing this waste properly costs thousands of dollars per barrel, but now it's sold to municipalities across the U.S. to dilute in their water under the false pretenses of eradicating tooth decay. You have the power and the duty to stop this. I shouldn't be burdened with the cost of buying bottled water nor forced to bathe with this toxic waste. If people still feel the need to fluoridate, there are many avenues to do so. Swallow your fluoridated toothpaste or mouthwash after brushing. Sodium fluoride pills prescribed by a dentist or doctor, or sodium fluoride applications at the dentist office. In the past, political pressures have led government agencies to drag their feet on regulating asbestos, benzene, DDT, PCBs, tetraethyl lead, tobacco, and dioxins. Unfortunately, because government officials and dental leaders have put so much of their credibility on the line defending fluoridation, it will be very difficult for them to speak honestly and openly about the issue. But they must, to protect millions of people from unnecessary harm. Remember, truth has a ring to it which is unmistakable to those in search of it. Do the research. See if you don't also agree with the growing number of U.S. cities that are ending this practice, some right here in Pennsylvania, such as Bucks County, which serves over 385,000 people. The real dental crisis in this country is the 16 million low-income children that receive no dental care, not even a routine exam. Ask why so many dentists don't accept patients on Medicaid. Ask if there's, I got one sentence. Ask if there's a better way to take care of our teeth, such as less sugar or regular brushing and flossing. But please see this truth and stop mass medicating your citizens with hazardous waste. I made
Thank you.
I gave this information.
Absolutely.
I gave you a DVD in there too. And if any of you want to contact me and ask me anything about this, please do. I have all the proof in there of everything that I said in this.
Great, thank you. Next on our list for citizens to be heard is Mr. Doug Hammer.
Just setting up my timer here so I don't go over for you. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak today.
Can you introduce yourself and give your address? I know your address is on the
Yes,
agenda.
sir. My name is Doug Hammer. I live in West Springfield. I'm not a resident of the city of Erie, but I come to you today because I realize that you are, being the largest city within the county, the decisions that you make will have direct ripple effect of what is decided within the county and within the region area. So you are really, in many respects, outside the city limits. You are leaders that people pay attention and follow. But I wanted to address today a project called Emerge 2040. This morphed out of what a program called Destination Erie. I'm sure to some extent all of you are familiar with this. This is a program that a number of people within government and outside government got together over the last couple years to decide the future path of how the city, the county, and the region is going to go as far as their leadership is concerned. There's three things I want to address on this that are very critical. I'd like to go into more detail, but I now only have 5 minutes, so I'll do the best that I can. This is a program that's nothing but trouble coming ahead for all of us. I know especially you, probably more than anybody else in the county, has to deal with the hardships of raising taxes, keeping services under certain financial restrictions and all that fall under that nature. But this program, and Anna France, who is the, I guess you could say the person that headed this up, the full-time person, acknowledged that this is going to raise taxes to pay for these programs. So I want you to keep this in mind. This is a number of programs that will be within government, within the private sector, that we cover that. Not only are we looking at higher taxes, but what we're also looking at is land acquisition for these projects that they want to do. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar that the courts have decided that eminent domain can be exercised by private companies over other ones. So they will use this. If you look at the details of it, you'll know that this is part of the program that they're going to do. And we obviously know that the governments at all levels can use eminent domain to seize private property. And that will tail off into increased regulations, a massive amount of regulations that are going to be put on the private property owners, to small businesses, large businesses, what have you. But to get these programs in place over the next 40 years, Emerge 2040, that's their goal by the year 2040, a massive amount of regulations is going to have to be put in place. And it's going to hurt the people who own property. It's going to hurt the small businessman and woman. And it's going to hurt the companies that want to come into here and create jobs. And we all know that once you start getting into over-regulations, companies will not come in. One other thing I want to discuss is at this meeting a couple weeks ago, when they had their final rollout of Destination Erie, which they said emerged into Emerge 2040, I found it quite curious that the argument was made by Dr. William Garvey that this was to be made on the grounds of a moral obligation that we have to our citizens and the future citizens to do this. Now, keep in mind, Dr. William Garvey is one of the leaders, one of the chosen leaders to be a part of this. He called out and said that we must do this and equated this with the founders and the signers of the Declaration of Independence. Now, I'm not bringing this up on a moral argument. Dr. Garvey did. But ladies and gentlemen, we know the history of this man. He's an accused pedophile. He stepped down from his position at Mercyhurst College because of a report that came out that this gentleman was accused, credibly accused by several people of fondling him while they were underage. This is a gentleman who is at the leadership of this. I found it also ironic that Dr. Garvey sat at the table with our county executive.
Excuse me, we're trying to have negative comments about someone at this time. If you could just go on with your discussion.
Okay, this has everything to do with the community.
We're not here to
He's
put
one
down
of the
people. If you
leaders.
could speak about a subject, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, I cite an investigative story done by the Erie Daily Times in August of 2005. But anyways, you're making it a moral argument to proceed with this. And ladies and gentlemen, please look at the details of this. This is nothing but trouble. You get this beast called Emerge 2040 going by a group of people who are calling on moral leadership who don't have it. You need to take a look at this, and I'm asking you, before you vote for anything, please take the time to understand this. My number is 460-6538, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Gary Horton, you're next on our list to speak, please.
First of all, giving honor to God. Good evening, Mr. President, Council, Administration, and Controller. My name is Gary Horton, 2046 East 19th Street, and I stand before you this evening to say that the mayor's proposal through Kim Green about the use of community development block grant funds, city services, is not a city services block grant program. It was not meant to be that. I think it's inadequate, it's insufficient, and it's a weak response to the challenges that we face as a community. I've heard several council people say, you don't know what to do. Certainly what you're doing, the status quo, is not working. To take the federal funds and divert them exclusively to city government use, it looks more like a plan of people out of touch with the people in the city of Erie and the needs in our inner city. All kids aren't bad. And a police-only approach to the challenges that we face in the city of Erie is not working. Now, I heard some of you ask for results. I'd ask you the same thing. Give the people a report on community policing. Give them a report on the curfew for youth that you've implemented. How can council affirm that plan? When you characterize the challenges as people versus police, where you're putting the public sector part of it and the nonprofit sector part of it in community policing, 92% of it, those monies used to fund neighborhood centers and nonprofit organizations in the community that were on the front line with the people. And now you divert those funds exclusively to community policing for overtime. More money for people who already have good pay, good benefits, good pension, nothing against them at all. But if you divert some of that money, as the proposal says, from community policing, it's not going to hurt. It's going to help people. It's the only place left to give young people a chance to have a job who want to work. You're the only ones left to be able to do that. You take $2.8 million, the mayor's plan, and divide it up amongst city government, rather than to give the young people in our community the hope of a job, a chance at making a few dollars for the summer, overtime for people who aren't really going to miss it, versus an opportunity to invest in young people. There's nothing in this plan for people. It seems punitive, punishing the people for being young, punishing them for being poor. It enriches the rich, those who have jobs. You talk about your own summer program. I hear some of your own children work in it. Other city people, employees work in it. I hear people live outside the city work in it. It's not enough. I'm not putting down the program. Those kids need jobs too. It's not enough jobs. We need more jobs, more help. $2.8 million you take, and you're directing it to city services. $545,000 in public services for nonprofits. You give summer recreation, your own program, $10,000. You give $11,800 to JFK, $6,000 to Martin Luther King Center, $8,900 to the Trinity Center, $8,250 to GCAC, and $500,000 in overtime to community policing. Do you guys get out in the neighborhoods where you don't live? Where people live who could use some money? Just $200, $300, $400, $500. for the summer versus $500,000 in overtime. $1 million in public facilities improvements. $275,000 of it is for street resurfacing, which you're going to float a bond for. Housing rehabilitation, $406,000.
Mr. Horton, your time is up.
If you look at the money, 2% to the people, to the problems that they face of the federal money. If you don't like my proposal, create your own. But give the people something. Give the young people something. Give them something.
Great, thank you so much. Our next speaker is Wala Ahmad. If you come to the microphone.
Okay.
You can give your name and address.
Okay. Wala Ahmad, 2046 East 19th Street. And I'm here in support of the summer youth employment. As much as we acknowledge that today's youth is our future, we fail to prepare them for what's ahead. Granted, we fund their educational and social needs by providing them with after-school programs and have them partake in social events. We do all of these things to mold them into the ambitious, creative, smart, and talented individuals that they are, not only for the time being, but for a brighter future, because today's youth will be tomorrow's adults, and they will be workers and leaders in this big world. But let's be realistic. In order to mentally be prepared for work as an adult, our youth need to physically practice and incorporate vital work ethics today. They need to fully understand the reality of their future, to learn to be financially stable, to grasp the meaning of employment responsibilities, and to take the initiative to physically pursue their goals. Our students go to school 9 months out of the year, per se, and then get to enjoy 3 months of freedom for the summer, and for our youth, that freedom can turn easily into boredom. And let us not overlook the many researchers' findings of a correlation between summertime and the rise of violence. Our youth are simply looking for something to do. They are eager to fill in their time with something to keep them busy. They've dedicated a full school year to education and after-school programs, completing only a part of what will prepare them for life as an adult. But now it's time for them to complete another important reality of adulthood, and that is work. Work. How many times have you applied for employment and asked you for work experience? How many times did you apply for a competitive job and it asked you for previous employment? Our youth do not have that. In what time but summer is best for them to fill in that gap? Let us make summer employment both an opportunity and an incentive for our youth. And they will be too busy to roam the streets. And that will hopefully decrease our teen violence. As the philosophical saying goes, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dan Zimajewski. I probably said that wrong, so I apologize.
That's okay. I say it wrong, too.
If you can give your name and address, again, I appreciate it.
My name is Dan Zimieski, 1017 French. Good evening, citizens. Good evening, council and administration. I came today to talk about poverty in the context of the summer jobs program. Erie has many problems facing us, but perhaps worst is poverty and neighborhood sustainability. It seems to be the root cause of so many other of our issues, such as violent crime. We know from statistical evidence that propensity to commit violence is directly correlated with poverty and neighborhood, the neighborhood that you live in, not ancestry or some other cultural differences that we have, even though it's those very differences that are used to divide our groups of people and neighborhoods. I think oftentimes that the differences make it easier to turn towards enforcement instead of the people. A proper summer jobs program goes a long way to addressing these root causes, which is why I was distressed to hear that council and government, city government, is spending money, on enforcement when these monies could be invested instead into the community and the people. I find a lot of the comments made by council members at the last meeting to be very disappointing and short-sighted. City government is already doing a disservice to the overall community by continuing on this harmful reactionary path that we've been on for so long that simply does not work. We can plainly see it doesn't work by the continuing and growing plague of violence in our community. We're pulling all this money out of our community, our neighborhood community centers, and putting it into overtime and enforcement, and things are just getting worse. We are reaping the results of years of all weed and no seed. We are losing an entire generation and our city along with them. We must change this direction and begin to invest in the people if we have any hope for our youth and the future of our great city. Our youth desperately need positive opportunities. Negative ones are all too plentiful, as we know. And we must provide a path that will equip them with the tools and social skills, but most importantly, the dignity and self-respect they need to succeed. Police overtime will never achieve that, and in fact often contributes to the negative atmosphere in our neighborhoods instead of the positive and healthy environments we all want and need. And while I think the JAMS program needs improvement, we know summer jobs programs work. Back in December, a council member remarked during a meeting that the youth aren't shooting each other over jobs. And while this is literally true, this kind of statement disregards what we do know about the positive long-term effects of summer jobs. It changes the conversation in a direction that's not going to get us where we want to go. The University of Chicago Crime Lab and the University of Pennsylvania jointly published a randomized controlled trial in the Journal of Science. The study quantified the effects. This is something that we don't seem to know in this city, is quantifying the actual effects of money spent. It just doesn't, we have all the money in the world. The focus is on if we have the money, not if we have the results, which is upsetting. So this study quantified the effects of Chicago's youth jobs program, which was named One Summer Plus. This program provides to youth in 13 high-violence neighborhoods 8 weeks of part-time minimum wage work, doing a variety of jobs such as camp counselors, community garden workers, and even office assistants for city aldermen. That's actually one change I feel is needed in the JAMS program. It seems very private sector oriented, benefiting those who already have, ultimately, instead of the communities at large. Jobs created should work to build civic engagement and responsibility. They should promote the interests of the community, not to build private profits. That study that I mentioned tracked over 1,600 youth over 16 months following, and the results were astounding. We're talking a 43% reduction in violent crime rates. The year before was 51% reduction. We're talking real lives undergoing real change, making a real difference, and we need that leadership here in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have citizens be heard. If anyone would like to come to the speaker, that is it for our citizens that had signed up ahead of time. You can give your name and address.
My name is John Whaley. I live at 447 Gordon Lane. I came here tonight with a different tact. I thought I would try something different. And then in about the first 10 minutes, it just spun in a different direction. So I'm going to start off two ways. This is not a prompt, but I went real quickly and looked up the First Amendment. And I'm not a lawyer, and we've got one right there, and we've got one on the fifth floor watching right now. Freedom of speech. That gentleman did not slander anybody. He used facts. He repeated things that were said otherwise. No slander. He should not have been admonished to watch what he was saying. That's not what this forum is. He didn't cross the line, and I think you'd back me up. Two, beautiful young woman came up here and spoke. 4 of you were reading. 2 people were texting. Put the phones down, stop reading. If you can't pay attention to a 21 or 18-year-old girl or whatever that comes here to talk to you, quit your job. Leave. Your job is to pay attention to the people that come here. All of you. I'm so mad I'm shaking. It's rude. It's incredibly rude. Not only to her, it happens all the time. So what I was going to start with is I was trying a different tact. Ephesians 4:28. Let the thief no longer steal, but rather let him labor, doing honest work with his own hands. Let's find some money for a jobs program. 2 Corinthians 9:16. Whoever sows sparingly shall also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully shall reap bountifully. We're going to reap what we sow. You're putting no money into these kids, into other kids. What are you going to have in 2 years? What are you going to have in 5 years? What are you going to have in 20 years? So that was my moment of silent meditation. Now last week, I like to learn things and I like to teach myself. And I went out and I met Gary Horton, and we've met before. And I want to know what he's doing. I want to know about the jobs program and what's going on. Unbelievable program that he's got going on over there. Some of these kids and hundreds more are showing up. He's tutoring, not he personally, but he's got an organization. I was blown away. The fact that all these kids are coming down here to talk, many from other nations, many raised in a household where English is not the first language, and they come down here and they're practicing democracy and they're trying to make their voices heard, and I think they should be heard. Just a refresher, CDBG, Community Development Block Grant. I don't think if you called the federal government and talked about that and said, hey, how should I use this money? Police overtime is not where it's supposed to be met. That's not what it's budgeted for. It's for something else. So lastly, we keep hearing we have no money. There is just no money. We are stretched so tight. Well, here's your agenda tonight. And like they say, the jokes write themselves. So right now, we don't have any money for a jobs program, but we're going to spend $4,000 on SWAT ropes for tactical rappelling. So let's not give a guy $50 in his pocket so he can earn a living, but let's go spend $4,000 on a paramilitary SWAT organization, which we might need at times, I get it, but do we need $4,000 worth of ropes right now? Do they have ropes? Can we go get a grant somewhere? The other one is $109,000 for a brand new fire alarm system in this building. If I go find the red thing and I pull it, is it going to go off? Do the sprinklers work? We don't have any money. We're stretched to the bone. Let's act like it. $109,000 to fix a functioning system is ridiculous. We need to get our priorities straight. You need to get the priorities straight. You administer this budget. $70 million. No money for jobs. No money for paving. We got brand new SUVs driving around. We buy inkjet cartridges for $3,000 a gallon. I'm not seeing any belt tightening. Here's the belt tightening. You're ignoring the people that live in this city that are coming down here begging for help. Thanks.
Any other citizens to be heard?
Dale Barney, 1205 Lynn Street. I'm just here to let you know I'm in support of the Summer Jobs Program. Last year I worked diligently advocating for the youth to be able to have employment. The county was able to come forth. The foundation was able to come forth. The Erie Gaming Revenue Board came forth. City couldn't come forth. I'm just hoping this year that you can step up to the plate and find some love. Not some money, find some love. Because if you find some love, you'll find some money to be of help to some youth. 125 people, that was good, but it wasn't enough. How I know? Because none of these were part of the 125 people. I ain't self-promoting. I don't know, may not know a person that gets a job. But the point is, I know the need. They need to have the opportunity to work. They need a job. Thank you, and I appreciate if you could step forth and be what you're about. The community. It's community development block money, not police development. We pay taxes. We got enough police money. But we got to help others so they can help themselves. Find some love.
Thank you. Next citizen to be heard?
Good evening, Council. My name is McDonald. My property is 19th and Reed. I support getting summer job for those kids because they need them. They need some money in their pockets. You got money in yours. I bet your kids are not going to go lacking. They're going to have some money in their pockets. If you don't find no jobs for them, you're going to put some money in there yourself. Those kids, they're from the poor side of the street. Their parents don't have no money they put in their pockets. And I believe that they'd rather work and get their own money anyway. They don't want nobody to give them nothing. They want to work and get their own. And I can understand that because I was in those shoes when I was a young fellow. I'm going to step away from that for a little bit because I don't have much time. I want to go back to this here officer traffic record in regards to the Erie Police Patrolman John Povic being involved in a Thanksgiving Day crash. And he wasn't charged. Let me see, I think this is the one that hit the fire truck. Did he have to pay for that, or we paid for it? He did a lot of damage to that truck. And he was drunk. I could see an accident, but a drunk policeman. Do that make sense to you? He wasn't charged. The district attorney didn't charge him. I don't know. And a woman was killed. No lady lost her life. Her loved ones, she might have been old, but she was still alive. Don't the police have to answer for nothing? That don't make sense. It don't make sense to me. And this guy was going, 17 miles over the speed limit. And he wasn't charged. Now, here's another one, Carducci. He won't face charges. He was drunk. Is the police above the law? Anything they do, they can get away with? There should be nobody above the law. The law should apply to everyone. You take these kids that's trying to get these jobs, if they commit a crime, they're going to jail. This Carducci, he had 3 of those sobriety tests, and he didn't pass them. And he didn't have to go to jail. The chief said that they would investigate it. Internal Affairs, how are you going to investigate your own house? The only thing I see is they're going to cover it up. Because if they were going to do the right thing, they would fire him. He was drunk. He was drunk. You're going to protect the drunk. Next time he hits something like this other cop, he might kill him. So that's not a good cop. That's a bad cop. Both of them were bad. So why not gotten rid of both of them? But our administration don't believe in getting rid of cops because down the road back there, there was did some things that they should have got rid of, and they didn't get rid of them. We're paying for a bad deal, and it's not encouraging to our young folks. When you break the law, you should pay. I don't care who you are. If you break the law, you should be taken to the woodshed and dealt with. Just because you're a cop shouldn't mean nothing. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other citizens to be heard? Other citizens to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Andrew Cherpak. I live at 2212 Fairmont Parkway. I came here to speak on behalf of the Summer Jobs Program and getting more money put into it. And everything that I was going to say has been said. But there's one thing that hasn't been addressed. And in order to highlight it, I want to go back to some comments made at the consummation of last City Council meeting. During that meeting, a young man came forth and expressed his fear that he doesn't feel safe in the community, in the parks. And that is a legitimate concern that needs to be addressed. But that was used to juxtapose against money being put into the Summer Jobs Program, because one of the gentlemen on the board said, well, hey, some members, as you all heard, don't feel safe, so more money needs to be put into policing. And I think this tremendous short-sightedness is only going to create the social decay that is so hard to stop, because in 20 years from now, a same young man will come up before you and he will say, board members, I don't feel safe at a park with a fence. I want a 20-foot bulletproof glass wall to protect me, and I don't feel safe walking to the park. I would like a police drone to escort me to and fro. And that is the result when we don't recognize there is an inherent crisis, when we don't go to the core of the problem, when we just want a short-term solution, and ultimately the decay that happens slowly, generationally, the slow trip of it becomes normalcy. It becomes the way things the way things are, the way things always were and always will be. Where if the dead could be resurrected, who grew up in 1950s, 1960s Erie, who could leave their doors open all night, and they said, "What on earth is this? Well, this isn't community." So this idea that in order to that safety can come about with more policing. We're very far from home. We're very far from community. We need to go back. We need to recognize that the way things are not the way they should be. And just by putting police out there, we're not going to the core issue of the violence, which is really human suffering, if we're honest. It's human suffering that's spilling out. It's human suffering of infinitely precious human beings who were born onto this planet and from day one only knew the unspeakable violence and vulgar disparity of life all around us that we don't want to face, that we just want to stomp out. So the first recognition is to not see this violence as some inexorable part of human nature that we need to imprison and lock up, but to see it as human suffering and to recognize we need to see that. And then from that will come compassion, will come a community embrace. We'll invite the young at Perry Square and we'll say, we want to hear your suffering. What are you going through? How have we not been recognizing your emotional needs? How have we not been supporting your families to support you? That is the conversation that needs to come about. So, yes, I believe this path we're taking, which is with policing, is ultimately the easy path, which ultimately is the path to nowhere, which ultimately is the path that will lead to the darker night that has already befallen our community. And with that, I thank you for letting me speak.
Hi, my name is Niklaus Kirschner. I live on 98 Catawba Drive, and I'm here to also support the summer jobs. And I just wrote everything down while listening, so it's going to be a little scattered. Summer jobs would serve the neediest youth in the city of Erie, those who are trying to break out of the cycle of poverty. According to PA school performance profiles, the students attending East, Strong Vincent, and Central, 3 of the 4 high schools, and make up the large 2,800 children, are 75% are economically disadvantaged, and 55% come from minority groups. 86% of these students are not considered ready for college by SAT standards, and according to U.S. News, only 29 or 39 out of 2,800 are considered college ready. According to the Pennsylvania Department of Education, only 76% of African American students from East and Central graduated in 2012, and the numbers haven't increased that much, and almost 50% of the youth in Erie are in poverty, and they don't have the demographics of youth poverty, but I would assume, since that about 75% of the students in the inner city are in poverty, that would mean at least 65% of minority youth are in poverty in the city. You know these statistics, and I could go on with them. These statistics and the lack of funding for summer jobs shows a general negligence in helping our youth succeed. Ignoring the fact of rampant inequality does not make the fact disappear, nor does feigning to support the disadvantaged while not taking the proper moral measures. In a Christian culture, people know the Good Samaritan. Ethically, there's no difference in the obligation to help someone right next to you or someone who is in your city if you can help them. And, everyone's pointed to the inherent, how biases and inequality that are related to genetic or cultural, how those have been all but debunked for everything. Academics in the 19th century used to say that there wouldn't be a woman Shakespeare, and that a woman trying to write was like a dog trying to stand on its hind legs. And other academics would say that African Americans, we were doing them a favor by enslaving them because they would hurt themselves. Approximately 35% of, approximately 35% of the Erie's 2015 city budget will go towards police, with almost 50% of the budget going to public safety. The block grant allocates another $500,000 to the police force. Sorry. And as others have said, there are many studies showing that summer jobs both empower and protect Erie's youth. I was involved in a youth program in Erie where all inner city kids, which have an 82% inner city, 82% graduation rate, every kid that did that, 97%, over 110 of 100, like 15 kids, 97% are on track to graduate high school because they had a meaningful job experience. These sorts of job programs and investment in Erie's youth is a meaningful, long-term way of changing our community opposite the status quo Band-Aid solutions that are presented by this grant and the city budget. Please join this positive and much-needed investment in your community and our children's future. Thank you.
My name is Bill Thomas. I go to East. I'm 19 years old. I have 2 sisters and a little brother. He's 3. Other sister, Melody, is 7. My sister, Princess, is about 16. Okay, I have a personal problem. I personally stand here for the youth. I don't stand here for myself. I work hard every day in school to get a better grade. I see my mom struggle every morning. Wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get ready for work. My mom, she finished high school, but did not go to college. But she worked every day to provide for us. Now, we're not asking for much. We're just asking for us to get a job. For us to show you guys, not every kid in this world is a bad kid. Not every one of them. You're pointing fingers at us, but you're not giving us the chance to perform who we are and what we made of. Thank you.
Hi, Council. I'm Sonia Arrington. My address is 1743 Glendale Avenue. Take a look at these young men and these young women out here. This is our future leaders right here. We need to invest in our future leaders. We need to be proactive instead of reactive. Proactive is giving these youth a job. Reactive is having these youth stand on a corner selling drugs. We don't want that. Prevention is the key. I want you to think about something. I think the Erie Police Department is doing a great job, but it's going to take more than the Erie Police Department. What about the prevention piece? If you think about it, every young man or female that they pick up and lock up and send to prison, when they come back out, they're going to be twice as bad because that prevention piece was missing. At least if you try to give them that prevention piece, when they do come back out here on the street for re-entry, they have a chance to change that mindset. And to me, a good prevention piece is giving these kids jobs. And you know, I hear some people say, well, you know, it's not the bad kids that's getting the job, it's the good kids. It don't matter, because a good kid can turn bad if they don't have anything to do. If they have too much idle time, they hanging with their buddies and they're bored. Just give these kids something to do. You may not be able to get what we asked you to give, but every little bit helps. Maybe next year you can plan to help next year. You can give a little more next year. But please, give something. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Salima Said. I'm from Kenya. I have a family who struggles every day. My father, he's almost in his 50-something. He works hard for us out there just to get the job and the money for us. He always worked hard so he could support us. My mom, she have worked hard for me. They always gave me the advantage and the advice that I need. They always tell me the good advice and what's wrong and what's right out there. They send me to school just to get better education, so I could see the bright future behind and up ahead. I'm here to say everything in my heart. The first time I came in America, I heard there's better future out there. There's better people who will help you and give you the better things. When I came here, I had education. I had what I needed. I had my family beside me. They always support me, and I shall stand up to support them. All we need is a job. Each one of us out there have a dream. To make our dreams come true, we need a job to support our family and people out there dying. Thank you.
Are there any other citizens to be heard?
Thank you, Council. My name is Veronica Rexford. I live at 4124 Westridge Road. I'll be very brief. I was at the orientation for the Summer Jobs Program today. Today was the first of several that they'll be holding. There were numerous young people there who I had been familiar with, who'd been through our program at Mothers Against Teen Violence. I was very pleased to see them there. They were with their parents, filling out the paperwork. Most of the kids that had come to our program previously had been referred for truancy or disorderly conduct, things of that nature. They've gone through the program, completed it, and now are looking through, clearer eyes and working to their future and looking for employment. Some of them we've been able to have the opportunity to place in private employment, and some of them are too young. There are very, very few employers, and this is what I want to remind people of. There are very few employers in our community that really hire anybody under the age of 18. And that's why, one of the reasons why this program is so important. They start at 16. The 16 to 18-year-olds have very few opportunities out there in the private sector. It's not like when I was in school. And if I'm not mistaken, Miss Jill over there and I graduated from high school together. When we were in school in the 80s, there were summer jobs all over the place when you were 15, 16, 17 years old. They don't exist now. There are no paper routes for young kids. All those kind of things have kind of fell by the wayside. The grocery stores don't hire as young as they used to, all those kind of things. When the zoo and Waldameer are the only places that 14 and 15-year-olds can get jobs, it's real tough. But the 16 and 17-year-olds, too, are having a very hard time. They want to work. I meet a lot of them. They're great kids between the job fair and having done some work with the jobs program last summer. And I'm just really excited to see people getting behind this program, and I think you should support it. Thank you.
My name is Helen Harmon, and I'm 17 years old, and I go to East High School. I am a single mother. I've been applying for jobs since I was 15, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Arby's, Kmart, and still hasn't gotten a job. Getting a job as a teen in the city is very competitive. Teens need more job opportunities.
Are there any other citizens to be heard? Are there any other citizens to be heard?
My name is Binge Kashindi. I'm from Congo. I'm 16 years old. I go East High School.
If you could put your microphone down a little bit. There you go. Great.
My name is Binge Kashindi. I'm from Congo. I speak 4 languages, and English is my 4th language. It's nowhere because I only have 4 years in America, so you excuse me. When I came here, I had no English at all. I wasn't speaking no English. I wasn't even speak anything in English. So you excuse me my language a little bit because it's not that good. I enjoyed this group that called Financial Literacy Program, and they give us this card. It's called Wicked Financial. It's a bank. I need to save money to help me in the future, something like that. But I can't save no money because I have no job. And we need money. We need to save our own money. We need a job to save our own money. I love school. I go to school every day. I do my work. I have no trouble or anything. I will do my work because I love school. But I need to save my own money too, to support myself and to get what I want. I want to go out there and have trouble of, those things that is not good to get me in trouble so my life can be hard in the future. I want to be a governor when I grow up. That's my dream. I want to go back in my country, Congo, and help my people. And I need this job. I need this job to support my family too. And to show my little ones, my little brother and sister, good experience. They can get good experience from me. Excuse me. So I need a job. That's what I need. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Adan. 2029 Institute, that's where I live at. And I attend to Mercy Unidades right now. I will be graduating with an associate degree in December. And I went to East High School, but I'm here today because when I graduate, I want to have a bright future. I want to have a job. I want to do something better in my life. I want to be the person who lights up my little brother. I want to be a person who help people. I want to be a doctor. In order for me to be that, I need experience. I need something to do right now. When we came here, we got robbed 3 times. These police are giving money to, what they doing? What they helping with? What are they doing to us? We were robbed 3 times. What did they do? We never got back whatever we was robbed. We never been told who robbed us because they took fingerprints and everything. Who did? We don't know. And we still leave the same house we left to leave. We got robbed 3 times. I will never forget that. But y'all giving out to these people, and all of us are here to looking for a job. We don't have a job. We don't have money. We're trying to brighten our future. We're not those people. Those people who robbed us, they could have did better if y'all would have gave them a job. That's what I think. Let up the future. That's all I gotta say.
My name is Sarah Weah, and my address is 1929 East 18th Street. I'm 18 years old, and I can say that we're pretty much all here from firsthand experience seeing our siblings or just close friends to us getting in trouble because of nothing to do and just hanging around with their friends. I don't really have much to say, but at the end of the day, we can all say what we want, but the decision is still up to you guys, and it just shows what kind of people you guys are to allow these job opportunities in our communities and neighborhoods. Thank you.
Are there any other citizens to be heard today? Any other citizens to be heard?
Thank you, guys. I came here to help all my people. Because my people doesn't got no job. We need all the job. We looking up all of y'all guys. Because if we don't got no job, what we gonna do without all the money that we need to spend? So y'all guys need to help us to get more money. My dad wastes 20% of gas, taking us to school, coming back. He goes to work at 3 o'clock, and we come out of school like 2:30. So we need a lot of money to support all our people from Kenya, from all the places we need. All these guys, they need jobs for us, for all of us. So we need all the money we need to support all our people. Unless y'all guys, y'all might say no or yes, but we need all the money we need. So we can't do nothing without all money, because we need all supports from y'all guys. So please, help us. We need all the help we need from our people, from y'all guys. Every time I go to school, all the teachers got a bad attitude with me. I don't know what I do, but they say everything to me. I listen to them. I try my best. Now we got passive tests going on all day. So we need all the luck that y'all gave us. We need luck. So wish us a good luck to pass all the passive tests. If we don't, we're just going to be held back every day, every single time, because we're not trying. We need all the job we need, all the job, all the money to support all the people around us. So thank you, guys.
Any other citizens to be heard?
Hello, my name is Clifford McCrae. I live on 2041 East 18th Street. I just want to say that I need a job, and I'm trying to. My mom works every day. Either if she's sick, if she's bad or torn, she's having a bad day, she works, she takes care of me and my sister. My sister needs a job too. I help out with Mr. Horton every day, every night, cleaning. It keeps me out of trouble. And I know everybody that's with me, they're not bad. They need jobs. They need something to do. They need to be occupied. And all I want to say is that I encourage you guys to make the choice to give us jobs. Thank you.
Any other citizens to be heard? Are there any other citizens to be heard? Are there any other citizens to be heard? Okay, hearing none, we will have our rest of the meeting. Rose.
Ordinances for final passage. Council File Number 15912, Official Ordinance Number 10 of 2015. An ordinance appropriating the sum of $1 million from unappropriated and anticipated
Mr.
revenue.
President,
300.
just hold it.
Rose, if we pause for a second.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Rose, we could continue with the meeting, please. Thank you.
An ordinance appropriating the sum of $1 million from unappropriated and anticipated revenue, $350,000 to be received as a grant from the PA Department of Community and Economic Development, and $650,000 to be received from private donations for this Perry Square project. By Mrs. Haran Kunso and seconded by Mr. Warnarski, the Council File Ordinance Bill 15912, and now known as Official File Ordinance Number 10 of 2015, be finally passed by the City Council. Mrs. Haran Kunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. City Council passed official file ordinance 10 of 2015 finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Two ordinances for first reading. Council file number 15913, an ordinance approving and adopting amended and restated articles of incorporation of the Erie County Convention Center Authority in the form of Appendix A attached hereto, and authorizing the filing of the amended and restated articles of incorporation in accordance with the provision of Act 148 of 1999 as amended and supplemented, known as the Third Class County Convention Center Authority Act. By Mr. Mursky and seconded by Mr. Brennan, that council file ordinance number 15913, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by the City Council. Mrs. Francunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kotowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. City Council read and adopt council file ordinance number 15913 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council file ordinance 15914, an ordinance authorizing an increase in the non-electoral debt of the City of Erie, Erie County, Pennsylvania by authorizing and approving the issuance and sales of $16 million general obligation bonds, federally taxable Series A of 2015, and $30 million general obligation bond Series B of 2015, and $4 million general obligation note Series of 2015 for the purposes recited herein. Directing the city clerk to prepare, certify, and file the required debt statement and to take all other necessary action. Covenanting that the city shall include the amount of the annual debt service in its budget for each fiscal year. Providing for registered bonds and notes, dates of the bonds and notes, and payment dates. Providing for facsimile signatures, seal, and authentication. Approving the form of the bonds and notes, paying agents, authentication, certificate, endorsement, and registration, providing for temporary bonds and notes, providing for the stated principal maturity amounts, and fixing the rates of interest on the bonds and notes. Awarding the bonds and notes at private sale, creating sinking funds, authorizing the proper officers of the city to contract with the bank for its services as a sinking fund depository and paying agent. Authorizing and directing the city clerk to certify, and authorizing and directing the city clerk to certify and file with the Department of Community and Economic Development certified copies of the necessary proceedings. Covenanting that the proceeds of the Series B bonds and notes shall be used in such manner as to cause the Series B's bonds and notes to be arbitrage bonds under federal tax law provisions. Authorizing the proper officers of the city to do all things necessary to carry out the ordinance, providing for municipal bonds insurance, and rescinding all inconsistent ordinances.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Mursky.
Even though the state ethics law does not mention in-laws due to my mother-in-law working at PNC Bank, to eliminate any appearance of impropriety, I am going to abstain from this vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mursky.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Kwiatkowski.
Yeah, before we vote, I'd like to make a comment that I find ourselves once again floating bond issues for roads, and I hope that going forward sometime in the future that we attack the problem a little better and not depend on bond issues which stretch out our debt into our grandchildren and children's futures. I think at some point in time we're going to have the courage to address the road situation, either with a millage increase dedicated to roads, or if it be the consent of council to do the bond issues. But either way, we're just fooling ourselves if we don't attack the problem in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Kwiatkowski, is there any other discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr.
I'm going to vote yes on this, but we have to find or start looking in different and new ways of bringing in revenue to pay for this down the road. We can't continue the old way. It worked then, and it's working now, but at some point, and I know we have discussed it, but we have to try to figure out what we're going to do 2-3 years from now. Where's the new revenue going to come from? And that's just a continuous study session type thing.
Thank you, Mr. Witherspoon. Any other discussion? Any other council members? Hearing none, Rose will continue.
Sponsored by Mr. Brennan and seconded by Mr. Witherspoon, the council file ordinance number 15914, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by the City Council. Mrs. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kotowski, Mr. Mirsky abstains, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. City Council read and adopt council file ordinance number 15914 by yea 6, nay 0 on first reading.
Is this carrying on through?
We'll go on to new business then. We're going to go through all new business?
Yes, please continue.
We need a pause.
There's a pause button.
Wake up. Okay.
Okay, resolution sponsored by Mrs. Rancunso and seconded by Mr. Mirsky. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that Mr. Roger Whalen of 1215 East 28th Street, Erie, PA 16504 is hereby appointed to the Sewer Authority for a 5-year term expiring December 31st, 2019. Mrs. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kotowski, Mr. Mirsky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Quinzel.
I'd like to move the balance of the agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Do we have any separations?
Mr. President, if we could separate 2 and 3, please.
Okay, so we're separating 2 in new business
And 3.
and 3 in new business.
All right, moving the balance of the agenda, Mrs. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kotowski, Mr. Mirsky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan.
Okay, now we'll go to item, we will vote on the rest of the balance, and then, no, we'll go back to 2 for new business.
No, I can read these and we can have discussion.
Yes.
And then vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right, by Mr. Mirsky and seconded by Mr. Witherspoon, resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that City Council supports the Neighborhood Resource Organization and the Mercyhurst Civic Institute in their application to the U.S. Department of Justice for a Byrne Criminal Justice Innovation Program Planning Grant for up to $175 for a period of 18 months to provide critical resources to communities that need assistance in pursuing, building, and convening appropriated stakeholders along with community residences to collect and analyze data to design and complete a strategic, collaborative, and community-oriented plan to reduce crime in the targeted neighborhoods of Bayfront to East 15th Street and French to Wayne Street, which encompasses the following 3 neighborhood groups' geographical boundaries: East Bayfront Neighborhood Watch, East Side Eagles Neighborhood Watch, and Snoop's Neighborhood Association.
Now, we will have discussion on 2.
Mr. President?
Mr. Mursky?
I sponsored this resolution to support the Neighborhood Resource Organization, which I'm the liaison. They have done great work in the short time that they've been in existence in the city. I've been to many of their events, and this grant would provide funding for those neighborhoods that need it the most. And so that's why we wanted to lend the city's support to their application for this money to the U.S. Department of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Mursky. Is there any other discussion on item number 2 in new business? Mr. Winiarski?
The only thing I may want to message, Mr. President, and is that there again, this money here may create some type of jobs in these different neighborhood watches where, you know, there's more avenues than just coming to City Council and hoping we have their answer or anybody's answer when it comes to jobs program, but seeing that they got a grant, and there again, it's $175,000, and who knows, maybe it can create 5 jobs. But that is one of the targeted areas that the youth are looking for jobs. This may be a prime example that could happen in. That's all. Thank you.
Any other discussion on 2 in new business? Hearing none, Rose will vote on 2 for new business.
All right, roll call. Mrs. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winiarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan.
You said Mr. Witherspoon twice.
Did I say Witherspoon?
You did so great. You did such a well. We knew what you meant, though.
I can leave on the next vote.
We want to go to number 3 now of new business.
All
That was
right.
the other separated item.
Okay. Sponsored by Mr. Mursky, seconded by Ms. Kwiatkowski, that the traffic engineer is respectfully requested to conduct a study of even-odd parking from East 34th Street to East Grandview and East Avenue to Old French Road, to study a turning arrow light on East 38th Street and Pine Avenue and East 38th Street and Old French Road, to study a traffic light on Pine Avenue and Lake Pleasant Road and report findings thereon to City Council. Discussion?
Mr. President.
Discussion. Mr. Mursky.
Just briefly, Mr. Kwiatkowski and I submitted this at the request of the neighbors up in that Mercyhurst neighborhood. As Mercyhurst University has grown from 1,800 students in 2000 to almost 5,000 students today, the number of cars in that neighborhood has increased significantly, also prompting the need for the study of even-odd parking in that neighborhood. Additionally, there have been many accidents on East 38th Street and Pine Avenue and East 38th Street and Old French Road, a few of them fatal, and so we asked the traffic engineer to study the need for a traffic light there, realizing that she will have to work with PennDOT as those are state roads. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mursky. Is there any other discussion on 3 of new business? Hearing none, Rose will vote on 3 for new business.
All right, roll call. Mrs. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winiarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. Mr. President, we have a waived rules from Economic and Community Development. It was just late getting down and it didn't make the agenda.
Okay, and we need to vote on waiving the rules first.
Yes. All right, voting on waiving the rules, Mrs. Rancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winiarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. I'm sorry I got so dry during all those citizens. Okay. Resolution sponsored by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Kwiatkowski. A resolution approving the 5-year consolidated plan for fiscal year 2015 to 2019 and annual plan for fiscal year 2015 CDBG, home, and ESG program, and to file copy of said 5-year consolidated plan for fiscal year 2015 through 2019, an annual plan, and authorizing the mayor to file an application for financial assistance with the U.S. Department of HUD, which has indicated its willingness to make available a grant to carry out the CDBG program in the amount of $2,806,751. Home in the amount of $604,751, and ESG in the amount of $254,036. And to provide assurance and/or certifications as required by the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, the National Affordable Housing Act of 1990, and the McKinney-Vento Homeless Act as amended, and also any supplemental or revised data which the U.S. Department of HUD may request in connection with the review of this application. Mrs. Harancunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kotowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. That will take us to committee reports, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Let's start with Mr. Kwiatkowski today. Council
thank you.
reports.
Real quick report, not at the top of my game today. I met with the police pension fund. Things are progressing well there. They are at their high mark of roughly $70 million in their fund and doing a good job. Nothing to worry about there. Making excellent progress, and we'll have a further update this week on our aggregate board meeting. I attended the Hammett Leadership Conference with the breakfast with Dave Brennan and myself, and found to be very informative of the future plans of the hospital, especially the ability now to transplant kidneys in the Erie area. And after listening to some of the doctors, it became apparent that this might only be the start, that we may be transplanting livers and other organs in the future. It's a giant step for Erie that people can now, in the area they showed us was all the way from Youngstown, halfway to Pittsburgh, into New York State. Roughly about 1 million people will have the ability to do business here at UPMC. I can only think back to when my father died. A liver transplant might have saved his life, but you know, it's nice that we're going forward that way. And to Hammett, many of the things they talked about, the future, the growth, all positive things for Erie, all positive things for our city with medical care. And I also attended, along with Councilman Curtis Jones, the Erie School District seminar with the superintendent. We all talked about the various issues that we all have, and they're all the same: funding and what we need to do going forward. And I think Curtis and I come up with the consensus that we need to have regular meetings with the school board and with our elected officials, even on a county level, so that we can meet and be on the same page when we start dealing with issues as tax, nonprofit tax structure. It was interesting the other day that Mill Creek, their school district and their township both went together and challenged one of the leading medical centers and at least won a temporary victory. So I think it would behoove us to get together with the school district and the county to maybe plan strategies to force the nonprofits to the table a little bit. We have good neighbors with St. Vincent and Hammett and a few others, but by and large, we don't get any return back from them. And we have our citizens, telling us, and rightfully so, they're discouraged that we don't have money for jobs programs. We don't have money for, we have to dip into other funds to have community policing programs. Well, if we had more revenue coming in from the nonprofits, even a contribution towards public safety, that might ease up our budget another way. So I'm glad that, they're talking about it, so let's hope we get together. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Kwiatkowski. Mr. Winarski?
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate all the young kids and parents that did come out tonight. This is an easy job for us up here as a council to just create these jobs or create the money to help create these jobs. The city at this time employs well over 150 young adults every summer, whether it be through the Parks program or whether they're employed by the city itself in mowing lawns, edging lawns, doing something in the parks. But with the rec program itself, and naturally with the help, the city can't afford this all by themselves, but we on a whole invest over $700,000 in a job summer program every year, including this year. But that isn't all city dollars that isn't put there. We have a lot of great sponsors, as well as the YMCA being one of them, who helps us in doing this city jobs program. Please understand, we really want these youth to have jobs, but just like they were here tonight, which was great, they get a chance, go upstairs to the 3rd floor with your parent and human resources and put in an application. It may not be the job you're looking for, but it may be mowing lawns for this summer. It would be a job, though. It'd be something that can help the community and help yourselves. Part of this summer rec program that is put on, breakfast, lunch, basketball, tennis. So it isn't just helping, you have older kids helping the younger kids enjoy some of the summer things of life, sports and that. So bear with us. The money to come up and ask, we want money, we want jobs. We have a budget and we have to go by that budget as much as we possibly can. We're not going on deaf ears by any means, as I can speak for, I hope, my fellow councilmen's here and woman, but this isn't it was brought to us last year at the very early stages, and then this year with no backup on where, just say, a dollar figure of $200,000 of city money is going towards these city jobs. We need a budget, we need a program, we need something that it shows what our city's investment will be towards the youth, not just saying they're going to have a job. Where? What kind of job? Who's tutoring them? There's a lot of questions to be asked than just, please give us money so we can get a job. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winarski. Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. I'll take a moment. Mr. Kwiatkowski had already mentioned that he and I were part of the school district-sponsored legislators, and as well as Mrs. Beck was there representing the administration and a few others. Excuse me, just to kind of hear what the school district's ideas were, plans are, challenges were, how we as elected officials on the local, state, and federal level can assist legislatively and decision-making wise, and just involvement to help support Erie's public schools, which is extremely important. So that was a very worthwhile event. Mr. Kwiatkowski also referenced some conversation that's been had even before that day and today around looking into how to get the 3 taxing bodies, legislative bodies in Erie County, meaning the Erie School Board, us as a body, City Council, as well as County Council, or at least the members of County Council that represent areas in the city, to sit down and have some legitimate conversation around maybe synergizing some ideas and collaborating on some things. We raise taxes one year, someone else raises them another year, so it's like it's always raising. So maybe there's some ways of just doing some things together and having just simply some legitimate conversation around how we can, as elected officials and in particular legislators, kind of work together to maximize our efforts for the citizens. So I think, Mr. President, I'd really like to see if we can, as a body, if we would all agree with that, or a majority of us agree with that, moving forward to try to make that happen, and I'll look into doing that and report back to this body. I would like to actually just, I guess, say a thank you to the Erie Police Department for their diligence, and members of the community and their diligence. And there were the crisis that was in our community yesterday morning. A young lady was abducted outside of her home, and not to get into too much detail of the situation, but at the end of the day, it was a blessing because she's returned home without any significant physical injuries or anything like that. And I just wanted to, again, a lot of times our police department gets a bad rap when they don't do well, and rightfully so. We can get questioned, and we can always do better, but I can definitely say from personal experience yesterday that all of those that I connected with and was involved with the situation were stellar and excellent, and had a great appreciation for the frustration of the family, which got a little crazy at times, and rightfully so, but they managed that and really worked around supporting them even in the traumatic space that they were in. And so I did call Chief Bowers and give that to him, and just wanted to say that publicly, that they, thank you from the family and those connected to the family for the police department's diligence to rectify that issue that, again, has been. And the little young lady is home and safe and in a great space. We dialogued a lot lately around the issue of the summer jobs, and for anyone who would dare to say that I'm not interested or supportive of or this body in general, but me specifically, because I'm talking in my report, is not interested about in supporting summer jobs or thinks that summer jobs is not important, obviously does not know me at all, and has probably made or misunderstood certain comments that I've made or taken certain things out of context, respectfully. If we all remember, just a couple of years ago, there was a pilot program that I initiated with the consensus of the majority of this body to just come up with, try to do something in the moment. It wasn't perfect, wasn't ideal, but we were able to support putting 12 to 15 young people to work just off of a very small amount of money, working with 3 local nonprofits. These young people worked there for 8 weeks, made $10 an hour, and did really well and got a lot of job experience. A couple of them didn't make it through. One got another better job that was longer lasting, and a couple of things like that happened. But it was a good pilot process, and this body gave to that as a majority, and other private people gave to that. The school district supported that financially, and the reason that we didn't move forward, or I and the people I was working with didn't move forward, was because this job program came up, and I didn't want to fight. We're fighting the same battle. So if they have a larger venue of people and they can help more kids in a fair swoop, so I just put my idea on the shelf and said, wait, this is wonderful, let's support this process and be a part of it. The irony of it is that we've been having a lot of people coming asking for jobs and money and designating where money would come from, and I'll wrap up, but tonight was my first time seeing something in writing to vote on or to conversate about beyond a verbal ask. And so I think we can maybe have a more legitimate conversation now based on at least a program to look at. And so I think we can move forward with that. Again, and I promise, Mr. President, my closing, I think it's not just what we can bring to the table as us, the city, giving money. I think there are a lot of community organizations, whether it be churches and businesses, that can also help to support this effort, because it's a community issue, it's a community concern, and it has a community solution, not just a city council solution or a government body or pseudo-government body solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Kunza?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just will follow up on what Mr. Jones was talking about with the speakers that we had today. I think those young people that came really did a wonderful job, and they spoke eloquently and passionately about their wishes and desires for work. But I think there's some misinformation being directed to them, and the way our council meetings work, we don't address the citizens back during the meeting. So now they're not here, so now we're going to address the issues, and they're not going to hear us. If they do, great. So we have a a presentation this evening before our meeting from the Venango Training and Development Center, who is the vendor who runs the Summer Jams program. If the youth were here, I would tell them, we don't run the program. We don't provide the jobs. We can't give you a job, and we can't give you money. We can send you to this program that exists, that is funded by a group of funding agencies between the county, the Gaming Authority, and the, what's it called? The Community Foundation. There is funding available for this program called Erie Summer Jams. They have not made a request to us to ask us for money. We have no proposal asking us for money. We have actually had a meeting with the gentleman, and he said, we're not today asking you for money for this program. So it's not as if we have a vote today to give money or not give money. We don't have a proposal from the entity in our hands to consider. So we're not voting not to support the program, because we haven't been asked to support the program monetarily. We want to promote the program, and we want to see the program grow. We know that last year there was 123 people in the program. We know that obviously we want more people to be able to access the program. There are 2 information sessions coming up, April 22nd and 23rd, and at the Career Link, and we certainly want all the youth that came today to go to those sessions and to learn about the Summer Jams program. I think we need to do something for the youth, and but I don't want anyone to be thinking that today was the day to take that action, or there was something before us that we could vote upon. There isn't. So one thing we've talked about a few times, the city, everyone keeps talking about, the city does hire some summer youth for some part-time jobs, cleaning up parks, doing some tasks, throughout the summer. And we had talked about that, though council has discussed the idea of requiring that those folks that are hired be city residents. I think it's valid. City residents should be hired to do city work in the summer. That would be something we could do, at least as a starting point. Anyway, long story short, the program is moving forward, and at this point we have not received a funding request from the city of Erie, as have none of the other municipalities in the county of Erie, which this program serves. So when the program gets to the point where they're making funding requests to municipalities, certainly we will entertain it fully, but we're not there yet. Anyway, and just wanted to thank everybody who gets involved with our United Way Day of Caring that's coming up, and all the cleanups that will be coming next week. That's really something we really want to give our appreciation and gratitude to the neighborhood and the citizens in the neighborhoods who come out and do their part to clean up their neighborhoods, and we just greatly appreciate that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kunso. Mr. Mirsky?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few things to report. Tomorrow, the Convention Center Authority meets. The Seawolves did have their home opener this past week, and the Otters are still playing, and so those are some good things and revenue generators through our amusement tax. I'll have a full report from the Convention Center Authority at the next meeting. The NRO, I just wanted to thank Council for their support of the NRO grant. They did have a code enforcement workshop. I was unable to attend. My grandmother is ill in the hospital in intensive care, so I had to be with her. And at the same time, there was a candidates night that I missed as well. And but the code enforcement workshop, from what Mr. Dieter told me, was very well attended, and it was very informative. So we thank the NRO for that. A lot of neighborhood groups did participate in that. And finally, just from, two more things. Attended many neighborhood watch meetings, East Side Eagles, Eagle Watch, South Hills, and West Bayfront, West Side Saints. I appreciate everyone who gets involved in those neighborhood watch meetings, and those are the eyes and ears of the police force many times, especially with the weather changing. There's more people outside. There's a lot more activity. They're essential to helping us community police. And finally, if there's still any potholes that aren't covered, please call the Streets Department, and they'll take care of it as soon as they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mirsky. Mr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to say no report because I can't say what I want to say over the air. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Witherspoon. Ms. Controller, Ms. Stankiewicz.
Have a brief report. The Investment Committee is going to meet next Tuesday to hold interviews to possibly hire international equity manager and an emerging market manager. We're going to interview 4 candidates in each category, and it's going to take all day. It's going to be an all-day thing starting at 9:30 on Tuesday, and then we will bring all that information to the aggregate board in May, which I believe their meeting is May 19th, I think. And at the end of March, the pension funds, the combined total was at $233 million. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Beck. Administration have a report today.
No report, just congratulations to Bob and Emily Mirsky on the birth of their baby boy.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I do have a couple things I wanted to talk about here. As the representative from council working on the city's comprehensive plan, we had our first meeting this past week. There were some great discussions, some great questions, a lot of homework given to all the committee members. So, we're going to be working hard on that. It's the city's first comprehensive plan. We've never done one before, so we're going to try to make this the best plan possible. There will be a future meeting to get public input, and that date is to be determined. We don't have that date set yet, but we'll know that soon. And I will keep reporting our progress during my sessions here to keep everyone informed, because council will eventually have to approve the plan probably later this year. I do want to just kind of add to some of the comments that were said about the paving bond and the other bond today. We definitely we needed some type of long-term plan and long-term strategy to bring in more revenue. Our road repairs are never going away. They're always going to be there. When a road is repaired and not repaved, again, it's much tougher to get to in the future. It's not going to go away. But what I just want to add is that much of our economic growth depends on a healthy infrastructure. When people visit our city, when businesses who come here and want to expand or even move to our city, that's what they look at. The infrastructure, the quality of the city is what they look at. So all very important. And I did want to also thank everyone for coming to talk about the summer jobs program. I thank especially the young people who came to kind of voice their opinions and talk about these things. We very much appreciate it. As Ms. Kunz mentioned here, we did have a representative from the jobs program, Mr. John Flanagan, come and talk about the program, talk about a lot of the successes they've had, the challenges. And gave us just information that really helped us kind of better understand the program, and he did leave us information so we could further review that. We discussed our programs a bit, our summer rec program, our seasonal jobs. We know both programs could be made better. We know it's very important for our kids, and as with anything, they're really our future. And I know we're going to continue these discussions for possible collaborations. There were some ideas mentioned during the meeting to possibly work together, but I think this is very important. And again, our kids are our future, so we were listening very closely, and we thank you for being here today. And as for that, that will conclude our meeting today. Thank you.
City Council adjourns at 9:32 p.m. Mr. Brennan, Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kutowski, Mr. Mirsky, Mr. Winarski,